So hi everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into library resources and services. My name is Julia Stone, and someone else just joined the waiting room, so I'll go ahead and let them in. So we do request to minimize background noise so that you keep your microphone muted during the presentation. However, there will be a Q&A at the end where you can unmute yourself, or you can always type questions in chat as well, but that's just to minimize background noise so we can all follow along with the presentation. So I'm gonna, can you go to the next slide, Pam? Thank you. So I'm Julia Stone. I'm a reference and instruction librarian at EGCC. I mainly handle our virtual services as I am located on the West Coast and I work remotely. So we have a lot of virtual services. We do virtual workshops like this. We do library chat, and we have library research guides. A lot of those services we're going to go over today. And Pam?
And my name is Pamela Terajak. I'm an information specialist. I work mostly with the in-seat students at the Youngstown campus and are also our online community as well. And here is our contact information on the slides.
So for this session, we are going to go in depth on the library website and the different sources and services available there. We're also going to go over different library resources and services, including some databases. And here's an important reminder: do not hesitate to ask the librarians for help. Generally, if you can't find what you're looking for in 30 minutes after you're trying to do searches, you can totally reach out to us. We're happy to help you. You can reach out in person on our Steubenville or Youngstown campus library branches, or you can email us at libhelp@egcc.edu. We also have a texting number, which is listed there. And then from our library homepage, we're going to show you where you can do a live chat with us. And that is probably the best way to get in touch with us really fast. Usually, well, during working hours, we'll have a library staff member there waiting to help you.
I'm going to pick up here with a note about the fact that we do have physical locations for in-seat students in our Youngstown and Steubenville campuses. And here's some information on how and what we have available in both of those locations. We have computer bays and in-seat assistants and a printer and copier in both campuses. In the Steubenville campus, however, there's slight differences between the two, because the Steubenville campus, which you will see a picture of on the slide, the top picture, is more like a traditional library. It's located in the Deanna Bailey building, and it has a reference and printing collection of approximately 14,000 items, and it does have comfortable seating and study areas. In the Youngstown campus, which is pictured on the bottom picture of the slide, we are located in the Thomas Humphreys Hall in A Quad. We do not have comfortable seating because it's more called a tradition. It's called Information Commons, which is more like a traditional library, but combining more hybrid library and tech services, not IT services, but just help with computers issues. Reference and print collection of approximately 400 items. So that is what we have available in the Youngstown and Steubenville campuses in seat. And the print collections that we have, and you can see on the shelves on both pictures, are available for you to borrow if you're an in-seat student. So you can come in here and actually borrow books, not just for your research and school needs, but if you want to come in here and borrow a fiction book to read over the summer, or a fiction book to read over your semester, and you want to read for fun, come in and borrow a book too. So we are glad to have these books available to help for your lifelong learning. Today, we will begin with a live demo of the library resources and services. We will be going through in the order the introduction to what the library website looks like, where to find that library website, and go through a small idea of what the LibChat function looks like, a gateway search demo, an introduction to the Nexis Uni platform, a very brief introduction today because we will be having, and I will repeat this during that part of the session, a brief look at the Nexis Uni database. Like I said, we're going to have a big session, 2 sessions on that later on during Library Week. We will be introducing what is called an A to Z database and publication finder, LibGuides, FAQs, online tutorials, and LibCal appointments and events, and the library YouTube channel. So we're going to be going through this pretty quickly because there's a lot to go through. So let me go to escape my this full look, and we will go to the library page. The library page can be accessed from different areas of the EGCC website. One is if you're if you're just regularly there, you can go under the Students tab, and it should be over here under Library Resources. So that will be where you will get this website if you're just here in the EGCC page. However, if you are on your student portal, there is a library icon. And because the library does require a sign in order to actually get to the databases, it is sometimes best if you go through your student portal because you will be, because it is the single sign-on. So if you're already signed into your student portal, you will be allowed into the library databases without an issue. So this is the page you will be getting when you get to the library resources page. We have over here our gateway search box, which I will go through in just a bit because that will be where we do our big search from. But we will be scrolling down to our A to Z database list, which again is one of the places which we will be going through. We will be going through what most of these mean during the course of this introduction, but these are all different links and icons that help you either do research or find information on how to do research. The only thing I will make a note of, which we won't be going through right now, is our GatorLink platform. GatorLink is our physical book, is the catalog of our physical books here at Youngstown and Steubenville, and the brief amount of ebooks that we have also on stock and for virtually that we own ourselves that aren't accessible by others in our what is called our Ohio Link Consortium, which I will be going through just a little bit what that means. Then we will have an area that has an announcements area, then helpful library links, other top popular things that we find that will be able to help you out, including we have our guides and our YouTube channel, which Julie will be going through later on during the presentation, and our links to our library workshops, and some the Spinny area is our some of popular databases and guides that we have found are useful, and other featured databases and guides further down. So this is what our library resources web page looks like. We are part of the Ohio Link Consortium in the state of Ohio, which is most public and private libraries across the state of Ohio. And we have borrowing privileges with them. So if you are also an in-seat student, you have the ability to request a physical book from somewhere like the Ohio State University or Case Western Reserve and have it sent to you, and you will have the ability to actually borrow that book. Otherwise, we also have, because of our membership with the Ohio Link Consortium, have the ability to have be able to access this big, huge database collection called EBSCOhost. EBSCOhost is like this big mothership of a database collection, which houses many different smaller databases that are subject specific for individual disciplines. We will be going through what those individual what each of these smaller databases have to offer when we get to the A to Z database list section. But that is just something to keep in mind when you're searching, that there is a slight and nuanced difference between OhioLink and EBSCOhost. Just those little slight differences. We have also an OhioLink session coming up later today at 2 o'clock. So if you want to know the ins and outs of OhioLink, you could sign up for that after this session is done to learn a little bit more about what OhioLink has to offer. And that is actually done by an OhioLink representative. So what we have available here is a gateway search. Our gateway search box searches various ways depending on what tab you're on. The search all function searches everything things available in the digital databases through OhioLink and EBSCOhost. The things available through some of our videos that we have available, some of the things that can be sent to you physically in the OhioLink collection through the other consortium members, our physical items here in Steubenville and here at Youngstown, everything. Publications Finder is something that Julia will be going through, but it's basically just the journal titles themselves and some ebooks. GatorLink, like I said, is our physical collection. And OhioLink is the things that are owned by, are the things that are connected through the consortium members. So those are the various different, briefly, what those tabs mean. If you are stuck, however, and you have done a search and we want you to, and you want to have a chat with us, we will encourage you to always try to do a search first. But if you are stuck, I will now introduce the chat icon here. The chat icon is this one, not the little gator over here, which connects you to the bot that is the college's generalized information bot. This one over here with the open book is our library chat feature. And by the way, we do not have bots at this present moment. So whenever you open a chat with us, you will be chatting with a real person. And you click on this, a librarian is online ready to help. You can click the chat now, and we will ask you to fill in this information, your name, your EGCC email, how familiar are you with library resources, have you conducted a search yet, so we can get an idea of where you're at in the process, and then your question. Please be both as exact and as how should I put it, as brief as possible, so we don't have a novel to read when we first started chat with you, but please be also exact, so we could kind of say, not have to ask too many clarifying questions before we get into a chat session with you. So, and then you could start a chat with us and chat back and forth doing the with live librarian. And this is one of the functions we have. It's on plenty of other pages as well, so you have that available to you. But let's go on to a introduction to what a gateway search looks like. We're going to do only search all for right now. And in the search all box, like I said, it searches everything: database, the journals, magazine articles, digital journals, physical journals too. So there's going to be something I'm going to teach you in a little bit that will show you how to make sure that you have only digital things available should you need it. And you can so with all that in mind, there are different kind of ways you can approach a search. And this little area search, you can search by a keyword, a title, or an author. So in a keyword search, it basically searches for what topic you're searching for. The title searches for the title of an article or a title of a book. If you know it, only if you don't know it, don't use that one. Again, same thing for author. It searches for the author of the book, author of an article, author of a short story. So, but most of the time, most searches, even for me or Julia, will be a keyword search. So that will be the one you will be mostly doing a search from when you're doing a search all function. You can also pre-limit your results by full text and peer reviewed already when you're on this search. Full text, like I said, is the one that you would check off if you want to make sure that you have your search only did things that you can read and access digitally. So you don't have things that we can't access because we don't have access to that particular database, or things that are in physical form in another university, or here at Steubenville, or here at Youngstown, or things that are available only in physical format, like I said, in another college, or a Hoylink member. So this is something vitally important to check off before you even search if you need something digitally, and you need it only digital search. Peer-reviewed is the best of the best of researched articles, because it is double-checked by a panel of the peers of the author. So say, for example, the author is a geneticist, it will be checked over by the peers, fellow geneticists of the author, so that way you know that this person has been double-checked by somebody who knows what they're talking about. It's not always necessary to have a peer-reviewed search when you're doing a research for any project, unless it is specifically mentioned by your professor, but it's something that would be useful if you think you want to make sure you have really good and really double-checked research available to you. But we were going to go through a demo of a library search now, and we're going to go search social media, because we're going to pretend now that we're in your English 101 course, and you are told to write a paper on anything you so choose. And you're interested right now in social media and how it affects teenage girls. And and especially how it affects teenage girls' mental health. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through how to search for this kind of topic. So how social media affects teenage girls' mental health. So the first thing you do is you kind of want to do a little bit of a background search or see what's available in the library. So you just plug in social media and you hit search. And you come up with a page that is this, and this is your results page. Your results page, the results page in OhioLink looks sort of like in EBSCOhost. I will explain this right now. Here is a different, is all of the search bars that you can use and manipulate in order to get better information for your paper and more refined information, because you will notice when I plug just social media in, you will see the search results as about 12 million results. Excuse me, I'll take a sip of water. 12 million results. These 12 million results are a lot for you to handle. So what the library asks you to do is refine your own research. So the algorithms here are not, you don't plug in a full sentence and it gives you what they think you want. Like Google does. You have to you have to very much craft your own research, craft your own how to word a topic, how to search for the topic. So this is kind of why we do this session, is to show you the ways to craft a research, a way to do this. So this is where you would plug in more information to further refine this to a more manageable number for you, and not only more manageable, more relevant. In this area, you can also refine results by different ways and means. Using different lists, you can check off your limits, what kind of things you want to find in this source. Over here are all of your research information. And over here on this right-hand side of the paper is another option for you to be able to do another chat with one of our librarians in this interface, or it could be some images or sound images that you have that you might need to find for your papers, and some ebooks too. But for now, we're going to show you at this point how to narrow down this 12 million results into something more manageable for you. And you know, for example, that you have the first thing we have to say was you have a rather broad topic. the broad topic is because you notice that because you have a research starter. Research starters are usually generated by the library as the first hit to give you a little bit more background information to show you how to narrow a search down. So that way you can kind of get some background information and know what you really want to talk about within this broad topic of social media. So social media is a broad topic, but is also searched as words, because the library does search as words. And you will notice that that is the case because sometimes my favorite example is Benedict Arnold, the American trader in the Revolutionary War. If you put it in quotation mark, if you put it in as just regular Benedict Arnold, it will come up with articles written by a man named Arnold about a man named Benedict, or written by a man named Benedict, or put a person named Arnold, or the fact that maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger, who knows, likes Eggs Benedict. So you will have you have to kind of make it search as the phrase. So one of the things we always advise students and researchers to do is when they are in the library and they're searching for a common phrase like social media, is put things in quotation marks so it makes sure that it searches as the phrase social media and not social media as words, and it's going to make sense of it all. So we're going to click that. We're going to hit search. We're going to update our search. And you will notice that it did reduce this amount to 3 million results because we did put social media together. And we still have that broad topic problem to handle. Before we go any further, I do want to make one small mention of one thing that is in the page that I just reminded myself of, is the sign into my EBSCO host area. That does not need to be done if you need to use the library. It just allows you to add things to their own cloud if you need to. So that is kind of a little useful thing, but it's not necessary. So if you see this, you don't need this to use the library. It's just something to sign up for if you want to use their cloud system, and you have to form your own account with them. So it's not reliant upon the single sign-on information that you need to get into the library. And one more thing, when you plugged in if you are at home and you are not signed into single sign-on at the moment, when you plug in your search terms and hit search, that will be the moment when you will be requested to use your single sign-on information to enter the library. So that will be the next step in the process if you are at home and not signed in already. So just a couple of extra notes before we really get into the refining of how to search for how social media affects teenage girls' mental health. So the next thing you notice you would want to add, because what we're really searching for here, and you will notice when you do a little skim along this, is that there are some things for youth and foster parents, but then you hit on to this one and social media fundamentals and ranking, and you look into how to engage, share, and connect. And these don't seem particularly useful for your paper because social media is like I said, a broad topic. You can do a ton about social media, from talking about algorithms if you're in a technology class here, or if you're doing a social media marketing class. You have the ability to talk about the actual marketing and the targeted ads that we have every day in social media nowadays. But you are looking for how the teenage girls interact with social media. So you might want to add that as an additional parameter to the search box. And this will be where these additional search boxes come in handy. You can go over here and you will notice that this drop-down menu offers 3 different words in all caps. These are Boolean operators. Boolean operators are 3 different ways to tell the computer that you want to either add a phrase or find a different permutation of the phrase or exclude a phrase entirely. The and adds a phrase. So we will be doing an and search now, or search kind of adds different permutations. You will notice when I plug in teenage girls, it will give me the option to search for different permutations of the term teenage girls, adolescent girls, or young girls. And not excludes a phrase. So the exclusion of the phrase means that it's going to take that phrase out. I give this example because it's one of my favorite examples, because it happened to a student a couple of years ago, and I helped the student through this search. Is she was researching how to teach babies sign language. You know, that baby sign language that's popular nowadays. And she was getting a lot of results in teaching deaf children sign language, which was not useful to her because she wanted hearing children to have the babies that have hearing to be able to learn sign language. So we had to exclude the word not by using the word not deaf. So that way it's not it exclude that word. So that way it's a more fruitful search for her. But for our purposes, we're just going to do an and search teenage girls. And you will notice, like I said, all of those adolescent girls, but we're just going to put teenage girls right now for simplification purposes. And we're going to hit search. And adding that one extra saying it has to search social media and how it interacts with teenage girls. And it did eliminate quite a bit of search. It did give us 11,349 hits now. It whittled it down quite considerably because, like I said, the thing you want to do in here is make it not only more manageable for you, but more relevant. And this process makes it both. So the next thing you will want to do is we'll add the mental health portion in a little later, but we want to kind of start to think about what kind of research we want. Let's make sure that we have things that are current because we don't want MySpace or AOL Instant Messenger involved. We want things like Snapchat. We want things like Instagram. So we want to make sure that we have things that are more current for our needs. And also we noticed that this publication date bar, the first date is 1985. We didn't have that kind of thing in 1985, so it must be some kind of odd outlier. So, but we want to make sure things are more relevant to our case. So let's go and plug in, instead of 1985, we could type in the year 2017, for example, hit the enter key on our keyboard, and it will update automatically to things that have only a publication date between the years 2017 and 2023. So that way it's more relevant. And this will be useful if you're in the sciences or math field, the STEM fields, I should say, or social work or something like that, because you need something that is more relevant to and more current. The other thing that I will do is like we said, we will want to make things that are digitally available to us. We can scroll through here and find physical books to send to us, and that could be it. And all you have to do is, if you want a physical book sent to you, you just hit the green request bar, and you'll have a small form to fill out. Pick the college. And then it will want then after that, we'll want your last name and your barcode number. A barcode number is usually your first initial, capitalized, your last name, capitalized, and the last 4 digits of your student ID number. If you are stuck with that, you could always start a chat with us, and we will be glad to help you figure out what that is for your case. But most of you are online students, so who knows if you're actually going to need the actual barcode number if necessary. But so we're just going to be concentrating on digital materials only in this search. So with that in mind, we're going to just click the full text button, and that will again automatically update to your to include only 5,000 searches. By virtue of the fact that we've done this, we have reduced it by some kind of number, but not manageable. And some of it might not be exactly relevant. We could look through this and we could see adolescent social media use, and we can see under use of social media in children and adolescents. It could be useful to us. But if we wanted to go even further, there are 2 different ways we can make sure that we have the most relevant research when it comes to teenage girls and mental health. We can add a phrase up here and add mental health And we can update this and hit search. And it will reduce it to 1,000 searches, and it could be just good enough for that. You could if you want to slog through that 1,647 results. You don't have to go that far, but you could if you wanted to. And you can go through this and see if there is anything available to you, but anything that might be good for you through that. Other way you can do this, we're going to take this out, delete that phrase and hit search again. And we can go through this using what is called the subject limiter. Subject limiters give you different ideas what the actual subject is. We notice that over here that there isn't any mention of mental health. So we're going to go to show more, and we're going to check off whatever we want. Body image. Let's just play around with as many things as possible. Psychology, sexual health, psychology of teenage girls, attitude. We could go through attitude towards sex. We could do as many things as possible to kind of give us a broad but yet useful information. And health promotion, cyberbullying, eating disorders, anything that goes with a mental health capacity, just kind of give us as broad but as thorough as possible. And let's just hit update right now, so we don't have to go too far into it. And we'll update to include those parameters. And again, we will narrow it down to 500 results. That is so much more manageable for you to handle. It's all about looking through this refine results area to see how to do this in a better and to refine your results and use it to craft your own research that will be manageable for you. And you can play around, because if you find out that something like attitudes towards sex doesn't work, you can always uncheck this. You can always click this X and deselect it, and it will automatically update again to something more useful for you. So you can always broaden and play around. You're not going to break the system if you don't get what you need. You can always kind of go back and play around again. I consider library research to be kind of playtime. You can find out what's fun and have a little fun with it. I know that you're stressed when you're researching, but have fun doing it, because it's an interesting process, learning how to and doing the research for a project. You go through down so many rabbit holes. And then you can again show what kind of source types you want. If your professor is very insistent on you using academic journals, you can just check this off and have only academic journals available to you. You can search under a language, make sure that you choose things that are only in English. If you have something that you have found that will pop up things in German or Chinese and you don't read that language, you want to make sure you only have English, you could check off English. You could also check off a geographical limiter. That will be useful if you are only interested in something about the United States, which is possibly good for social work or criminal justice or healthcare, because there are different regulations for the United States than there are for other countries. So you might want to make sure that you limit it by United States if you're looking for specific rules and regulations and standards for the US instead of other countries. So while we're at it, we're going to go now through what these searches, what a source looks like. You can go over, let's go through this ABCs of Gen X, Y, P, and Z teenage girls, the pressure of perfection. You can automatically look over here and see some basic information about the source here on the author and some subjects that it's about. You can also go over here to cite, and you will be able to have the citation format for APA and MLA. You could copy and paste it into your reference and or works cited page. And these are mostly correct. You just might have to double check it against an OWL, a Purdue OWL, or our citation and writing guide that Julia might show you at the end of the session. And we will also have a little preview, but this is about over here. And you could also add it to your save your saved folders if you're logged into that My FScale host account. We're going to click this article, and when you click the article, you're only going to get a background information of the article, what it's about. You're not going to get the article itself. To get the article itself, you're going to have to go here to PDF full text, click on that, and the article will pop up now. And here we'll end up, and along with the PDF reader, you will have different tools available. In this area over here, you will notice you can print and download the article if you're in Google Chrome. If you're in a different web browser that might be located somewhere differently, you could also print the article. You could also email this article to yourself. You can also save this article to your folder. Over here is your citation. And over here is your as how to create a permalink for yourself. And when you're in the library, this link is not the permanent link that you have. It's not stable. It changes frequently. So in order for you to make sure that you have the link that you can get back to this article, again, you just have to click on this. And here is the permanent link for this article itself. And again, like I said, this is the actual resource in which you will do your search from. It's the entire source. Otherwise, you can go back here. And like I said, go back again and you want to search for another one because you found out that this one is perfect for your purposes. Let's go to this one above here, and you will notice that this interface looks slightly different because yes, you do have all of the information available to basic information available like in the other source, but you have a full text finder. A full text finder is a different way of accessing the source. You have to kind of click this. Then you will have to click a find full text from Ohio Electronic Journal Center, and it leads you to a different database that you can also click the PDF full text here, and that will be where you will access your source from. So you will have different access points. Rarely, but it's happening rarer and rarer. Every once in a while, you might also come up with a different interface that might look like a bunch of dates. You just have to remember what date this article comes from and click that year, and then click the month and or issue of that year. And you should be able to scroll to get, it will produce another window in which you can scroll to find the article that is the relevant one for you. No, I don't want that one. I just switched some things around. Sorry about that. But yeah, we'll be at this point though, you will notice, like I said, if you scrolled around, you will notice that that source is relevant to all the sources that we have provided are relevant to you on that research. And you can find things now that will be good for that paper. Now we are going to go to the A to Z database list. The A to Z database list is useful when you are doing something subject specific. The search all is really, really good when you are doing something that is like general, like we were doing right here. But if you are doing something that is requiring you to find information on the basis of a certain discipline, this might be a good place to look for the subject-specific database that might be useful for you. So for example, if you are looking for something for sociology, because we know that one of the sociology professors requires you to find something on a sociologically specific journal, go over here, click that, and will lead you to journals that databases that have those journals available, because a database is a place where all of these journals reside in a digital format. So and each of them usually is subject specific to a specific discipline, or sometimes a little bit more general, like academic search complete. But we have sociological index collection and social index, for example. We also have, if we want to find something for nursing, we have chemistry, we have all of these different subject areas that you can search through. We also have it listed alphabetically. So for example, next, in a couple sessions from now, I think tomorrow, we are going to be having something on Galen context opposing viewpoints. And if this wasn't available here, you can just simply go to G and find the Gale and Context Opposing Viewpoints database for you to click on and utilize that database if you want. The last database the last thing I'm going to do before I turn it over to Julia is kind of briefly look at Nexis Uni. Nexis Uni is a database that is outside the EBSCOhost database. It's its own company, and it is useful for finding good, interesting things about the news, also for legal information, and for company info and country info. For example, you could plug in here and find plenty of information about that using, and you could also craft dates already for the previous week or previous 5 years, or make a custom date range, or under all company types. We're going to do an all company all content types. You can search under news or company information or legal information or people for this, but let's just do a regular search for Disney. And you will come up with bunches of information in all 4 of those fields about the Walt Disney Corporation and what news it has made over the past 2 years. What kind of cases that they legal cases have they been involved in? So you can scroll through this, or if you wanted to do a more guided search, you can go over here to select which one would be most useful for you. And like, for example, cases, like I said, Walt Disney, because Walt Disney is sometimes legally involved in stuff. And then click enter. And here are some legal cases and legal briefs for you to access in order for you to do that. We have, like I said, this coming week, I believe on Wednesday or tomorrow or Thursday, an actual in-depth look at Nexis Uni. And thank you, Julia, for providing the information for the Nexis Uni workshops this coming week. At this point, and like I said, you could do as news stories as well and company information, but we have ones for the future that will be more useful for that case. So we encourage you to attend those if you are interested. At this point, I am going to be handing it over to Julia, who will be doing something on publications. So Julia, I'm going to stop my share.
Thanks, Pam. So now we're on the library homepage. I'm going to be going over our publication finder tool. So this tool can be accessed in a couple different ways. We have the publications tab, which is within Gateway Search, which Pam just went over. She was using the Search All tab, but if you use the Publications tab, you'll be able to find journals and ebooks as opposed to full text articles like what she was showing. In addition to this Publications tab, you can also scroll down on our homepage, and if you go to our online research tools, you'll find Publication Finder listed here. So this is just 2 ways to access the same thing. The Publications tab is a little bit closer to the top of the page, easier to access, so we're going to do that. We're going to do a search for a social work journal. So we type in our keyword social work, hit search. And I specifically left myself logged out. So when you are not logged in via single sign-on, it will prompt you to log in. So this is how you log into the library. It's going to text me a code and I'll just enter in that code, and then I'll be able to access the library. And it won't ask me to log in again once I'm already logged in. So I just hit verify. And this will happen if you're not on campus or if you're not signed into your student portal already. So here's Publication Finder. I did a search for social work, and you see here that we have over 10,000 results, so not a few results, lots of results. You can hit this filter button, and you'll see on the left-hand side here some filters you can apply, similar to how you apply filters in Gateway Search. You can limit to peer-reviewed journals if you want really credible and double reviewed journals. You could also filter by subject. Say you want social work, but specifically like psychology related social work. You can also filter by type of resource. If you are just looking for books, you want to get that general context, or let's say you want to look for a journal that you could then search within to find articles. So in our case, we're looking for a journal. So I'm going to filter by journal. And I'm just going to scroll through here. You can see these are my full text access links. However, there is what's called a full text delay. And this is when a source is not published as currently, like it takes a year for it to be published. So we wouldn't get things from this year, but we would get things from 2021. It just takes a while for that vendor to publish articles online. So I'm going to go down to Journal of Social Work, which is a peer-reviewed journal, and I'm going to click on our Ohio Link Electronic Journal Center link. You can see we have articles available from 2001 to present. There's no delay here. So once you click on that publication that you want to browse, you'll be taken to a search platform. And this search platform might look a little different depending on which link you clicked on. And I'm going to show you first this Ohio Link Electronic Journal Center link to give you an idea of this platform, but I'm also going to show you a couple other platforms that you might see when using Publication Finder. So you can see we have all of our most recent issues listed right here. So if I wanted to just browse through what is being published in September 2022, this is all available for me to see, just as an idea of what is happening in social work now, what is of interest to scholars and people writing about social work. I can just click PDF full text right away if something interested me, and it will take me to a PDF of the journal article. I can also click on the article and it'll take me to more information about the article, including a permalink that I could save and access the article later, or if I just want to read the abstract to get an idea about what it's about. So it's pretty easy to just look and browse through different issues in this way. But let's say that I also wanted to search a keyword. For instance, what if we were interested in social work, but specifically social work surrounding poverty? I could type in poverty, click search, and now it's going to show me articles from the Journal of Social Work specifically that include the keyword poverty. You can see we have 335 results, which is not too many to just like look through. And this is a really good way. Pam was showing you how to find articles on a broader sense of looking in lots of journals at once. This one is looking in one journal at once, and that's why we have so many fewer results. But it can be a really good way to narrowly hone in on a topic, because we know that all of these articles have to do with social work because they're in the Journal of Social Work. And now we know that they also have to do with poverty. And so we can click on one that interests us, and again, PDF full text, get taken right to our article to read the full text of it. So Publication Finder is a different way to go about looking for articles if you want to look for the journal first and then look for articles. I want to show you briefly what another platform of the same journal looks like, just because not all journals are in that Ohio Link Electronic Journal Center. Some of them might be in Sage. So when you click on a journal that's in Sage Journals, it's going to look like this. So this is the same journal, just on a different platform. Again, we can look at our current issue, and you see that we have access to these articles. We could download a PDF or read more about the article, read its abstract summary. We can also do the same thing with the keywords. We're searching in this journal. We can search for poverty. And here we are. It's the same article we were at before, just accessed from Sage journals as opposed to Ohio Link journals. So hopefully that gives you an idea about what you'll get to when you click on a full text access link for a journal. In addition, we could use Publication Finder to filter by books. And when we look for a book about social work, there are also different platforms you'll be taken to. For instance, if we were interested in this book, we can click on the Electronic Book Center link. And we'll see that we can read this social work and social development book. We click read. And here's the book. We can download the book as a PDF, which is sometimes easier to read than the other platform. We can also search in the book for keywords and go directly to the page that has those keywords, which is really helpful. And we can hit that 3 lines and be taken to the table of contents and jump to certain parts of the book. So for instance, this one seems to have to do with poverty. We could jump to this chapter 6, and read right from here. So that is sort of how you will navigate through an ebook database, and Publication Finder is a great tool for finding ebooks and for finding journals, as you've seen. Now let's go ahead and go to our next part of the presentation, which is LibGuides. LibGuides are also called research guides, and they are available from our homepage here. If you click on the research guides icon, you'll be taken to all of our guides, or our guides organized by group, guides organized by subject. So you can click on this to view our guides. We have 107 of them, and our guides are always growing and being revised and updated. Research guides are compilations of relevant resources like ebooks, journals, articles, databases, websites, videos, etc. And we have both course-specific guides, so guides for specific EGCC courses, and we have subject guides, which are more general and can be used for research on a topic. So let's look at one course-specific guide and one general subject guide. We're going to look at one of the newer guides I created. We're going to look by group, by business, and we're going to look into a management course guide for training concepts. So for a course guide, we generally will have the course description, and we'll have some relevant databases that you can use from the A to Z database list that Pam went over, and you could click on one of these like Business Source Complete and look for more resources on training concepts. You also have these tabs here on the left where you can look at all the ebooks we have related to training concepts. And if you click on these links, you'll be taken right to the text. And you can look through our tabs of ebook titles and some open textbooks that are openly available online. You can also click here to see some journals. So these journals were found using Publication Finder, which I just went over. You can find more journals by using Publication Finder as well. Websites are not library-specific resources. These are just openly available on the internet. And we have some professional organizations related to management training, some news sources, some general websites, including podcasts, etc. So this is a good way to kind of enrich your understanding of this course with some other resources. Same with these videos. These are some YouTube videos and TED Talks that have to do with the topic, so you can further enrich yourself on management training concepts. So that kind of gives you an idea of what a course guide looks like. Let's go back to our UGCC LibGuides, and we're going to look at a general subject guide. So we're going to look at our psychology guide. A general guide will not have a course description because it's more general. It'll give you some databases that are good to use. These are really specific to psychology. We like to provide research starters when we can. These provide general overviews. They're kind of like encyclopedia entries, and also very short introductions. Those are some ebooks that are very, very general, very short and brief introductions to topics. You can use these top tabs to look through the resources. Similar to the course guide, you'll find print, ebooks, journals, videos, websites, lots and lots of things related to psychology in general. And before we jump into FAQs, I want to show you on the home page, we have some helpful library links, and we link to some LibGuides that are really commonly used, such as our citation and writing guide, which Pam mentioned. Our citation and writing guide goes over APA style, MLA style, Chicago Manual of Style, oral citations, and lots of other things. We do have citation workshops on Friday that you can register for. We have one on APA and one on MLA. You can also make a citation help appointment by clicking this link if you wanted some more one-on-one help with your citations. In addition, we have I'm going to go back to the home page. We have our Getting Ready for Research guide. This is another commonly used guide where we go over the research process of choosing your topic, gathering background information, focusing research, evaluating your sources, and then, of course, using your information responsibly, including citing your information. So we have some helpful videos. We have all of these different steps broken down into different tabs. And so we definitely recommend this if you're just getting started in your research and you want to choose your topic, or if you're at any stage in trying to work on a research project. We do have a Choosing a Research Topic workshop during Library Week as well. I believe that one is on Wednesday or Thursday. I forgot to check that one, but you can look on our Library Week page to see and register for that. Now let's go back to our homepage, and we're going to talk briefly. I know we're a little bit out of time, but we're going to talk briefly about our how-tos and FAQs. So how-tos and FAQs, these are commonly asked questions from students. So you can see our most popular questions with lots and lots of views from students. What is my UGCC library username and password? If you click on that, you'll be taken to a guide, and this will walk you through how to log in. So you just have to do a search, and then you might be asked to log in if you're not already logged into your portal. And if you wanted to, you could also search, let's say we wanted help with ebooks. We could search for ebook, and we could learn about EBSCO ebooks, Gale ebooks, O'Reilly ebooks. This shows you how to get to the O'Reilly platform, which a lot of courses do use O'Reilly for their course textbooks. So this might be a helpful one to learn more about and to be able to access your course text. So we went over FAQs. We're going to go over online tutorials. Tutorials are accessed via this icon. And these are self-guided little sort of mini courses that cover different research related topics or library tools. We have one on avoiding plagiarism, evaluating websites, etc. So let's say we wanted to do the one about finding scholarly articles, which talks a little bit about the peer review process, etc. You would just click begin, watch the video, answer the questions, and move through the slides. So you will get a little certificate at the end of doing these. It's a great way to enrich your learning further. LibCal is accessed also via the home page. So you can access upcoming library workshops. That's all through LibCal. You can also click on this button here, Library Workshops, and see all of the upcoming workshops, like how you registered for this one. If you click on LibCal from here, then you can schedule appointments, attend student workshops, and then faculty, of course, would click on this. But these are all of our upcoming workshops. You can browse by faculty or student. If you're a student, you'll look at the student workshop calendar. And then if you have questions, of course, you can email us. And then I have two more things really briefly. Oh, one more thing really briefly, our library YouTube channel. So again, for the library homepage, if you scroll down here, it's linked here under our helpful library links. You click on the library YouTube channel, and you can look at our general library how-to tutorials that show you how to use different things in the library. We have research tutorials that talk about narrowing research topics or, conducting research in the library. We have a few Microsoft Office tutorials as well. So you can just browse through our videos and watch them here. We also have recordings of some workshops that happened a while back. In addition, all of our Library Week workshops will be on a playlist in our YouTube playlist. So does anyone have any questions? Feel free to put them in chat at this time. Yeah, so what exactly is EBSCO? So it is a little confusing because there are a lot of different platforms, but EBSCO is essentially, they're like a provider that is putting all of this information in these databases. So they're like, if you think of it as an umbrella, they're like the widest umbrella overhanging all of these different databases. They're basically the company behind the databases. Some databases, however, are owned by different companies, like Gale. That's not owned by EBSCO. What's really important to understand is that EBSCO has those different subject databases that you can go through on our A to Z database list. And that hopefully answers your question a little bit about EBSCO. It's more something that, like, as a librarian, you need to understand and talk to people from EBSCO and get tech help from them. But as a student, just know that they provide the databases. So how often is Library Week? So this is our first Library Week, so we're still kind of piloting it, but it is something that we'd love to put on, like, at the beginning of classes starting. I don't know, Pam, if you know how often we're going to be offering it. We haven't really decided.
Yes, we haven't really decided. That it is true that Julia said we haven't really decided yet. We are hoping that maybe next semester. Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah.
And I can take the next question. Since I'm online from New York, is Ohio Link or Gator Link useful? Yes and no. I will say that part of it will be useful and part of it won't be, because Ohio Link and Gator Link also link to some ebooks available to you. So you might want to try if you find some ebooks on some digital platforms. But for your cases, I would try the publication finder or the search all function if you want to find something that will be mostly useful for you. But if you want to just give those a shot to find some ebooks available to you, you could try it.
Yes, I agree with Pam. There is going to be a presentation put on by myself and our library director called Where Do I Search? And we're going to go over more in depth about Gator Link and Ohio Link. So we do encourage you to go to that session as well, and we'll talk more about, okay, I need this, where do I search for that? And Gator Link, like Pam said, does have some ebooks in it. So it's not going to be completely print books, but for the most part, people will search it as local students. Any other questions? But yeah, thank you so much for attending today. We really, really appreciate your time. And I know we went a little bit over, but hopefully you found it helpful. And we will send out a recording and a link to these slides again, just in case you missed that. And we hope you have a really great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for attending.